All right. Thanks for joining me. This is Christmas Eve. There's one day till Christmas. And really, I've outgrown not just Christmas, but I've outgrown this sort of sense of tradition. So for me, Christmas had special meaning throughout the years. Obviously, as a kid, the meaning is you're getting gifts. That's kind of the central theme. As I became a young adult, Christmas became about, family and me getting gifts for other people and love and this type of thing. But what I'm done with is a few things I'm going to discuss. Fundamentally, one of them is autopilot, unconsciousness, zombie like, bot like life. The bot like life. Man, if you look at society right now, it's prevalent and obvious everywhere. It's extremely ubiquitous that we see human beings just sort of going through the motions. Going through the motions. Here we are in this magical experience called life, and most of what we do is just go through the motions. And Christmas is one such of these unconscious things that we do on autopilot. It seems like to some people that's a stupid reason to be done with Christmas, but of course that's only because there's all sorts of abstract meanings that you haven't really looked at yet about why you hold on to Christmas. I'm going to talk a little bit about some of that, I think, as well. So, traditions in general are one of those things that people don't look at closely. Like Thanksgiving, Halloween, celebrating birthdays, Christmas, Easter, all these things that are sort of like pre-established. And we have justifications and we have reasons as to why we do these things. But what I'm suggesting here is that the reasons aren't our own reasons. The reasons come from culture, they come from family, they come from friends, they come from external sources. For me, right now in my life, I'm 32 and I've been doing self help for the past few years in really deep empirical spirituality for the past 2 years. And one of my core values is mental sovereignty, sovereignty of mind, to basically create my own experience of existence. And so something like Christmas is really a direct contradiction to that. So, or any sort of tradition. Routines, a lot of times, get us into similar trouble. And that's very similar. A routine is sort of like more like a daily thing. I'll give you an example. This past Thanksgiving, my mom was slaving away in the kitchen all day. Towards the end of the day, I went in there to see if she needed some help. And, she didn't need any help, but it just really kind of painted a picture in my mind. It's like my mom herself is really just sort of going through the motions. She just knows that every year I go in the kitchen and I make a bunch of food, and then people come over and eat it. And then you do that on that date every year. And then the same thing for Christmas. And I would guarantee that she's never once stopped to see oh, why do I do this? Why do we celebrate Thanksgiving and Christmas every year? Why don't we have our own routines? Why don't we have our own traditions? Why don't we have our own holidays? I mean, there's nothing stopping you from making up your own holiday. You can just make one up whenever you want and celebrate it whenever you want. The government doesn't need to approve it. You can just make it up in your own head, within your own family, for yourself, with your family, with your friends, with your cat, with your dog. So I guess originality is another one of those reasons that ties into what I'm talking about as to why I'm done with Christmas. A lot of our routines and our autopilot behavior is also tied to comfort. And another reason that I'm done with Christmas is because I'm also done with chronic comfort. I think one of the problems that we have as human beings that makes us feel unfulfilled, one of the reasons that a lot of times I feel unfulfilled, is sometimes it feels too comfortable. It's nice to have comfort available. I'm not saying that we shouldn't have comfort. I want life on earth to be as utopic as possible, in the sense that you get to choose your experience, not necessarily that it's predetermined for you. I do a lot of things to try to keep me uncomfortable. I hate the cold. It's not that cold today, but I decided to sit outside and shoot this video. I don't really like staring at a camera and talking. I don't know, I can speak. I've delivered whole speeches in public spoke and all kinds of stuff. And sometimes just looking at this camera to post a video is still a little bit more daunting for me. I've skydived. To go see my video about skydiving on my page. Things like that. Just trying to keep myself a little bit out of the comfort zone. In a sense, ironically, I'm not comfortable being too comfortable. The second big reason, that was the first big reason in all those subpoints, but the second big reason that I am done with Christmas is there's a fundamental ontological misalignment with me. So Christmas its origins are in Christianity, right? The Christian tradition. Now, I grew up in a Christian household, but I am not a Christian. If you guys watch my channel, you guys know that I've talked ad nauseum about enlightenment and spiritual awakening. And, you know, I do a lot of meditation and all that. And so what I did starting like a couple years ago was I launched an empirical investigation into the nature of reality, the nature of myself as an entity that exists, the nature of other, which is like you, anything that's not me, right? And then the nature of God, if such a thing could exist. This is me thinking at the beginning of the investigation. What my investigation concluded is that Christianity is not true. There are nuggets of the actual truth within Christianity, but it actually doesn't have anything to do with Christ at all. And so for me, knowing that truth, having gone through that tough work of having to actually face death, which I actually did, I might make a video about that. I just haven't yet, because you have to be really open-minded to understand that, even to understand this. But fundamentally, there's just a misalignment there. It's like, well, why would I celebrate and perpetuate this holiday, which is connected to, or adjacent to, or really directly connected to Christianity, Christ, the Christian tradition, and all of the stuff that comes with that. That really doesn't make sense. That's not something I want to perpetuate, because I don't want to perpetuate a falsehood. That's definitely not my goal. So that would be the second big reason. You know, it's sort of like you wouldn't eat a steak if you were vegan, right? So you wouldn't, if you've had an enlightenment experience, you probably won't stay Christian if you were one. If you had an enlightenment experience, you wouldn't continue to be an atheist, or a Buddhist, or whatever. You might still be a Buddhist, because there's some nuance there. I might talk about some of these in the future. But third big reason is that Christmas sort of carries an implied idea that your highest, or not your highest, but that one of your highest values is probably family. And of course, religion, which I mentioned in the last point, but family. And I know this is like extremely unpopular, but family is not it's not even in my top 10 of values. And this is not to say that I don't love my family. I do love my family, but family itself as like a way of orienting myself to life is not one of my values. I don't use that as a guiding principle in life. Like, I don't filter like, oh, what will my family think if I do X? Or should I do this? And how will that affect my family? Now, this also isn't the same as me saying that that family is like an inverse value, like it's something that I hate. That's not true either. Family is one of those values that society expects you to have. That it's sort of like assumed that that's the case. You know, like if you were to go to a baseball game, people sort of assume that you like baseball. But you could just be at that baseball game because your girlfriend wanted to go and she likes baseball. And it's no different with your core values. A lot of people love to sort of, what's that word people like to use? Virtue signal like, oh yeah, I love family, and family's a is an important value, and they sort of try to project that value onto other people. Like, oh, well, you don't care about your family, um, or that's your family, that's your mom, that's your brother. It doesn't matter what they did to you. You keep family close, and you value family no matter what. Yeah, that's true for you because that's one of your top 10 values, perhaps. But for somebody else, that might not even be in the top 20. I would say for me, family's somewhere in like the top 20, but it's not in the top 10. And since life is short, I have to organize my values in a way where I'm sort of more more congruent with the top 10. I'll make a video in the future about my top 10 values. But yeah, so society just sort of assumes that you're gonna have. Okay, so the dog decided he wanted to come outside and bark at the other dogs. So yeah, um, so those are my top three reasons. Uh, it's not aligned with my values, my top 10 values. Christmas, um, Christmas is literally the textbook sort of illustration or portrayal of unconsciousness, autopilot, bot-like thinking, and zombie-like living. I mentioned that at the beginning of the video, and then the other one is a misaligned ontology. Christmas is connected to Christianity, and Christianity does not effectively point to the truth. Anyway, all of that to explain why this will be my last Christmas. So what that'll look like for me is I won't be celebrating it anymore after tomorrow, because I happen to be here with family today. I won't be saying it doesn't matter. The details don't matter. I won't be saying Merry Christmas. I won't be buying gifts. I won't be accepting gifts. And if somebody asks me about it, I'm going to be upfront about it and say, yeah, that's not something I would do. My actions are based on my values, and Christmas doesn't fit anywhere in that for me. Let me know what you guys think about traditions and whether we should have new traditions. Maybe this is the first time you've even considered that it's possible for you to not do things that you were told, to not take even something as sacred as family and hold it for yourself as your value. Maybe because you have different values, or maybe you have different values. Maybe you never thought of them. But with that being said, final Christmas, and this will be the last time I tell you this too. Merry Christmas.